I have played every single Garten of Banban game. Garten of Banban 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0, and now finally 8. I have had such a blast with this game series, and I want to know what's going to happen next in the Garten of Banban 9. So what can we expect to see? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment with what your favourite Garten of Banban game is, and go and check out some of my other videos. So first off, let's get the obvious out of the way. At the end of Garten of Banban 8, both Banban and Flumbo get into an epic beefcake fight after Banban learns about the truth behind his past and kills Syringeon in a blind rage. They both end up falling into a large vat of pure Givanium, and we leave to meet up with an unfamiliar face, or a familiar face with an unfamiliar face hiding in the dark. We learn of Brushista the Anteater, who we originally heard of from the paintings in Syringeon's tower, but now we have confirmation that we are either going to be joining forces with the Anteater, or we are going to be going against the Anteater. Now, considering that we have lost most of the creatures that were guiding us or helping us through the facilities, I believe that Brushista will be aiding us in our journey, acting as the Banban, Toadster, Bittergiggle, or Flumbo in our journey. We also noticed that she manipulated the head of Miss Mimicry to speak again. Is this an ability of Brushista, or is this a hint that we might be facing Miss Mimicry in the future? It could just be that the collar that Miss Mimicry was wearing can still control her even after death, but it's a pretty big mystery with this one how she managed to continuously use the head of Miss Mimicry to go and replicate the sound of our children's voices. I mean, is that to lure us over to her? Who knows? Well, now that we've talked about one of the main characters of the next game, what about other confirmed parts of the next game? Well, as soon as Garten of Banban 8 released, a teaser trailer for the Garten of Banban 9 was released, which, first off, I have to say, that is insane how they already have the next game in development before this one even came out. The game dev grind is strong right now for the Euphoric brothers, but let's talk about what we see in this teaser. Well, in the teaser, we see a large vat of Givanium that both Flumbo and Banban fell into during their battle. While both were enraged, they fell into the vat of Givanium, which allows us to make our escape. We come to the conclusion that the characters who fell into the Givanium will die if they fall in. However, one thing that we should remember is that when Opilibert's child fell into the barrel of Givanium, it evolved into a much larger version of itself. I believe that when it comes to it, if a creature has a surplus of Givanium or a specific Givanium experimental type, they can then transform into a greater version of themselves. This is more of a theory since when Banban was injected with an experimental Givanium mixture, he then unlocks this ability, so this could be because of a certain form of Givanium instead of an excess. We also find out that the reason Banban goes on these pancreas-obsessed rampages is because of Syringion's experiment, which should have probably been obvious since he knows so much about Givanium. We get shown that both Flumbo and Banban have in fact not died, but have instead combined and mutated into one huge hellish form, having 4 legs and 4 arms as well as 3 eyes and a mix of blue and red all over its body. This further makes me believe that an excess of Givanium can cause mutations or evolutions, but how exactly are we going to get Banban and Flumbo back from being combined into this mess that they're in? Well, if we look back to the Garten of Banban 6, we fight against Opilibert's child that has mutated, but after we finish the battle, it shakes off its stun and charges at us. But we manage to close 2 large doors together in time to prevent it from getting to us. Once it gets crushed by these doors, the Givanium is squeezed from it and it returns to a small form once again. This leads me to think that we are either going to find a way to siphon the Givanium from them, or we are going to crush it out of them to split them apart, or potentially make a Banban-Flumbo hybrid permanently. Okay, we now have 2 guaranteed things that will turn up in the next game, but what else could we potentially see in the next game? Well, since Banban and Flumbo mutated, Banbaleena was also still alive when she was dropped into the vat, so there is a large possibility that we will also see a hellish version or a mutated version of Banbaleena. How would this be portrayed though? Because the most basic answer would be that she would just look like Banban's hellish form and that's all. But there is every chance that she is going to be similar to how Opilibert's child mutated, and will also become some form of abomination. But what about Syringeon then? Because Syringeon was also sent into the Givanium vat after having a hole punched through his chest. Well, there is a much smaller chance that I believe he will reappear in the series, since he had probably died before taking the plunge, which we haven't seen what happens if something that has already died falls into Givanium. This leaves a lot open for speculation whether he will reappear, maybe in an Abomination version with a hole through it, which I would admit would be really cool, considering how all three that fell into the vat becoming Abominations would be really cool for interactions, and would also be a great horror section like Nabnab's evolution. In this case, let's also talk about Nabnab, because we only get a glimpse of Nabnab when we make it towards the mapping sector and the musical room, but he doesn't do anything and only has one appearance, so what can we expect from him? Well, we know that Banbaleena is still around, so maybe they could have a reunion, maybe Nabnab will discover how to control his hellish form similar to Banban, there might be a kaiju battle between the Abominations and Nabnab. This one is much looser of a theory, but considering that Nabnab and Banban probably don't have the best of relationships anymore after this situation going down, I think we can assume that Nabnab will be a little annoyed and would want a little bit of payback for being stuck in this form. So next up, let's talk about some game functionalities though, because we don't have the drone or the remote for the drone anymore, considering that Syringeon took both from us. So are we going to ever see the drone again in this game? Well, I believe that the brothers have two options here. Either reintroduce the drone into a different section after Brushista potentially stole them for you, or some other way that you get them back, or you will ditch the drone from now on and only use its upper instead, which, to be fair, would kind of make sense. Now, what would happen if we need both? Well, I think that it will most likely involve more complicated puzzles where we will mix both the drone functionality and the zapper functionality together. Along with this, we could also potentially have a new inventory system that could lead to more avenues for a game functionality and puzzle complexity. We already have an inventory, but we just don't have a way to access it to see what we have inside the inventory, as well as the fact that we only ever hold one item at a time in our hands. So we've talked about game functionality, what about the game map? What places will we be seeing next? Well, since we're going to be interacting with Brushista, I believe that we will most likely, almost definitely, be exploring some form of art department or director's office area, since we can see that Brushista is both an artist and a director of plays, since she directed all the plays in the theatre in Garten of Banban 7, and also painted the pictures in the Surgeon's Tower in Garten of Banban 8. She is also very dramatic, so it fits the character. So backstage tours, art rooms, maybe some art-related puzzles and such. Who really knows the possibilities that can be done with a character with such a huge amount of creativity? One thing we do know is that eventually we will revisit Varzah, the fire-breathing coyote that we fight against inside of Zolphius and see again during that chase against Miss Mimicry. To be completely honest, this boss was a little unmemorable since he only makes a small appearance here and there, and the boss fight itself was a little lackluster, but when we see him again, then we already know that he will be an enemy, since he didn't really like the fact that we managed to escape him and his flames. We also are teased that we would meet him at some point during the game when we are on the train with Flumbo and Banban, where we can see images of a claw for Clorenzo, a blob with 2 lumps on it which is supposed to be Miss Mimicry, a mushroom cap hinting to Truffletoot, a head that has large sharp teeth which is Varzah, the middle bottom image is obviously Sherriff Toadster, and the last one I genuinely couldn't tell you if I tried. Maybe it's Kittysaurus, but I highly doubt it is, considering that Kittysaurus got bodied in the previous game, and I don't think it was in the prison, but it could have potentially been. But let's talk about something really important that I'm not sure many people are talking about right now. Miss Mimicry was mimicking our child's voice. So does that mean that they have found our children and they are still traveling further into the facility? I still don't think that we will find them yet, since there's no hints that we will be getting any closer to them, but we now know that they have been here before, and Miss Mimicry has heard what they sound like, so they could be closer than we think. That's all I have for you guys. That's all my theories and expectations for the next game. I'm really excited what could possibly be next for the series, since these games have given me so much enjoyment and laughs. They are truly hilarious games, and that's not a bad thing. That's the reason why I love them so much, is because they make me laugh. And It's like how I love horror games that make me scared, I love games that make me laugh. So it's pretty much perfect for me. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment your favourite Garten of Banban game. Check out my other videos. That's all from me for today, and I'll see you all in the next video. In a bit, people.